She didn't destroy you. She revealed the fracture you refused to look at, the part of you that was begging to be chosen, even if it cost your soul. You called it love, but Schopenhauer had a different word: illusion. For 2 centuries, his warning has been ignored, not because he was wrong, but because his truth was too unbearable to face. He didn't say women are evil. He said desire is. He said nature doesn't care about your dreams, only your function. And love, it's just the mask nature wears to trick you into servitude. What if everything you've called heartbreak was actually your biology playing chess with your ego? What if the goddess you worshipped wasn't divine, but a projection of the parts of you you never dared to own? This isn't about hating women. It's about ending the spell that says you'll only be whole if one chooses you. Because Schopenhauer didn't offer comfort, he offered clarity. And once you see the machinery beneath romance, you'll never fall the same way again. She didn't reject you. She rejected the illusion you became for her. And that illusion was the only version of yourself you ever learned to love. That silence she left behind, it's louder than your own voice because you still believe she's the one who could define it. You called it heartbreak, but heartbreak implies there was a heart to begin with. What she broke wasn't love. It was your mask. Most men don't grieve the woman. They grieve the mirror she held up, the one that made them feel seen. And when that mirror vanishes, what's left is not emptiness. It's the unbearable weight of self-abandonment. You didn't lose her. You lost the version of you that only existed when she looked at you. Schopenhauer warned, love is the will's camouflage. It tricks you into believing reproduction is meaning, and validation is love. She was never your salvation. She was biology dressed in poetry. You mistook instinct for intimacy, and instinct won. You gave her a job that wasn't hers, to tell you who you are. That's why her silence still speaks louder than your truth. You assigned her the power of identity, and she accepted it without asking. Now every smile, every absence, every word withheld feels like a verdict on your existence. This isn't about her. It never was. It's about the fact that without her gaze, you collapse. Because deep down, you still don't know how to witness yourself. You outsourced the mirror, then cursed it for shattering. You were never heartbroken. You were caught in an identity withdrawal. Look at what you became to keep her love. Agreeable, invisible, apologetic. You learned to shrink so you could fit inside her idea of you. But no one survives long as a puppet. Eventually the strings cut circulation, and you mistake the numbness for peace. Now the ache is just the echo of the role you played too well. What hurts is not that she left. What hurts is that she took the mask you depended on. You thought it was love, but it was a stage, and you were the performer. The applause stopped, the lights went out, and you were left in the dark, not alone, just unmasked. You didn't lose her. You lost your favorite disguise. And now you're left with what was buried beneath all along. The weight, the void, the confession you never spoke. You keep calling it heartbreak, but it's liberation in disguise. Because if she was the only thing holding your identity together, you were never whole to begin with. You didn't fall in love. You dissolved, like a shadow stepping into light, hoping it could become real by merging with the sun. But instead of becoming whole, you disappeared. You called it devotion, but it was self-erasure. Romanticism lied to you. It told you that losing yourself was noble, that love meant sacrifice, that vanishing for someone else was a kind of holiness. But disappearing is not sacred. It's suicide with a smile. You didn't worship her. You worshiped the idea she might save you. The Madonna complex isn't poetry. It's pathology. It turns women into goddesses and men into ghosts. You believed she could baptize you out of your flaws. She couldn't. Schopenhauer saw the trick. He called it nature's ruse, the will to life disguising itself as destiny. Love to him was instinct masked as magic. And when you fell for her, you weren't seeking a partner. You were seeking permission to matter. The truth She never asked for your sacrifice. You offered it like an addict offers blood for silence. Because deep down, you didn't want a relationship. You wanted redemption. You wanted someone to make you forget your own weight. Every time she smiled, you bowed. Not because she demanded it, but because you believed obedience would make you lovable. But love that demands disappearance is not love. It's codependency wrapped in sonnets, and you mistook the leash for a kiss. You weren't being romantic. You were bargaining with your soul. I'll be good. I'll be gentle. I'll be useful. Just don't leave. You called it love, but it was a hostage negotiation with your own masculinity. And every soft word was a brick in the prison you built yourself. You weren't crucified by her. You crucified yourself to the altar of a goddess that never existed. She didn't make you vanish. She just never stopped you, because it's not her job to keep you whole. It's yours. It wasn't the insult that broke you. It was the praise, because for the first time, someone saw you, or at least pretended to. And in that flash of recognition, something inside you whispered, maybe I'm not invisible. So you chained yourself to that moment and called it love. Her compliment wasn't just a kind word, it was a drug, the kind that slips past your armor and rewrites who you think you are. You weren't in love with her. You were high on finally feeling seen. This is the halo effect. You confused her admiration for evidence of your existence. Her words became your mirror, and you liked the man she reflected. But mirrors lie, especially when they speak your language of longing, and you traded your spine for the echo of validation. Schopenhauer warned, the will deceives even with kindness. It uses beauty, charm, even warmth, not to free you, but to bind you softly. She didn't intend to imprison you, but the door you walked into had no handle on the inside, because you wanted her light more than your own. You told yourself, she sees something in me. But what if what she saw was just your desperation dressed up as depth? You started performing for the next hit, more attention, more praise, more crumbs. And when she pulled away, you blamed yourself, because you confused her words with truth. Every addict tells the same lie, I can stop any time. But you couldn't stop chasing her validation, not because you loved her, but because you hated the silence she left in her absence. Her compliments weren't gifts, they were golden handcuffs. You lost your hunger for growth, because her approval became your ceiling. And slowly, you stopped asking, what do I believe? You started asking, what would she applaud? The man she praised became your prison. And now you don't know how to speak unless she's listening. She didn't betray you. You betrayed yourself. The moment you outsourced your worth to her perception. Visibility felt like love, but real love doesn't vanish when the applause ends. It's time to stop waiting for someone else to name you. You called it passion. But passion doesn't leave bruises on your spirit. You weren't in love, you were in a loop, because pain was the only thing that made you feel real, and she was the perfect supplier. You didn't crave her affection, you craved the emotional spike, the crash, the chaos, the collapse that followed. Love wasn't familiar, pain was. And the nervous system remembers what comfort never taught. This is trauma bonding. Your heart got wired to equate intensity with intimacy. So when she hurt you, it felt like home, not because it was right, but because it was recognizable. She wasn't love. She was your childhood screaming in a new costume. Schopenhauer understood. To desire is to suffer. So what we call romance is often just an elegant form of self-destruction. You didn't fall for her. You fell into your wound. Again, because suffering was the only language you trusted. You stayed not because she healed you, but because she reopened the scar so precisely. You thought it meant she knew you. You mistook the bleeding for bonding. You mistook her volatility for vitality. Because peace, to you, still feels like punishment. And when she withdrew, the ache wasn't for her presence. It was for the next hit of emotional adrenaline. You chased her rejection like a junkie chases relief, because in your story, pain is proof that you're still alive. And silence feels like death, but the truth is brutal. She wasn't passion. She was a mirror of your unresolved grief. You thought she was fire, but fire doesn't keep you warm when it's burning you down. She was your past, dressed as your future. You didn't need her to love you. You needed to finally stop confusing pain for connection. Your nervous system is not your compass. It's your echo. And until you untangle love from suffering, you'll keep calling your wound your soulmate. You became everything she wanted and nothing you respected. The protector, the provider, the pleaser. You wore every mask she approved of and buried the one face that was yours, because you thought if you performed well enough she'd stay. But love bought through exhaustion never lasts. You weren't weak, you were just raised to believe that love must be earned with suffering, that if you try harder, she'll finally choose you. So you danced, gave, bent, provided, and disappeared. Not because you failed, but because the script was rigged. Schopenhauer said, "For men, love often means surrender without glory." You don't win her, you serve her. And while you call it devotion, it's usually just disguised desperation. Not love, but fear of abandonment dressed in sacrifice. And sacrifice, when unreciprocated, becomes self-erasure. Every time you said yes when you meant no, every time you ignored her contempt just to keep the peace, you were teaching her that your soul was for sale. You weren't building love. You were laying bricks in a cage. She didn't break you. You broke yourself. On the altar of conditional affection, she didn't demand your soul. You offered it first, hoping it'd make you worthy. But what's given in desperation will never be received as strength. You started to measure your worth by how useful you were. The more you gave, the less you recognized yourself. She asked for presence, and you gave performance. She wanted truth, but you delivered perfection. And in the end, neither of you were satisfied. This wasn't love. This was emotional capitalism, trading effort for scraps of intimacy. And the moment you stopped performing, you saw the truth. She wasn't with you. She was with the role you played. You don't need to become more. You need to become real, because no woman worth your soul will demand you amputate it. And the moment you stop treating love like a transaction is the moment you remember, this is your palace. Stop acting like the clown. You didn't love her. You loved the version of her your loneliness invented. You handed her the task of healing wounds she didn't cause, then blamed her for not being a surgeon. But she was never your partner, only your projection. Jung warned, the anima, if not integrated, hijacks your soul. You see her and think, she completes me. But what you really see is your forgotten self in feminine form. You didn't want her. You wanted access to the wholeness you lost. She wasn't the answer. She was a symbol. Every time she touched your face, you felt the comfort your mother never gave. Every time she criticized you, you felt your father's disappointment burn again. You weren't dating her. You were reenacting your origin story. She failed you, yes, but not because she was cruel. She failed you because she couldn't carry a weight you didn't know was yours. You assigned her meaning she never earned. And when she walked away, it felt like death, because she was holding your soul. Schopenhauer stripped the veil off this illusion. He said women are not salvation. They are continuity of the will. They're not here to rescue men from themselves. And when you forget that, you invite ruin in a beautiful dress. She didn't deceive you. You miscast her. She wasn't your mirror. She was the canvas you projected your absence onto. You called her divine, wise, different, but never asked if she could even meet herself, let alone meet you. You didn't want love. You wanted a caretaker for your shame. You wanted her to witness the boy inside you and still choose you. But no woman can fix a man who hasn't stopped bleeding. She was never the solution, just the stage where your wound played out. Let this be the ritual of seeing clearly. She was not your goddess. She was not your future. She was just the embodiment of your unfinished childhood. And now that she's gone, what remains is the chance to finally meet the man beneath the mask. Did you enjoy the content and it made a difference for you? Click on Super Thanks and support our work. You think you feel guilty, But guilt is just the mask you put on rage when you're too afraid to burn. You don't forgive her because you're noble. You forgive her because you'd rather blame yourself than face the betrayal. It's not guilt. It's grief you never named. You rage inward because it's safer. You tell yourself, I should have been better. Because she used me would collapse your entire narrative, so you carry her sins like a debt. And slowly, the voice inside starts whispering, it was your fault. Schopenhauer wrote that pain isn't just sensation, it's meaning, twisted. And your guilt? It's your refusal to accept that someone could hurt you without cause. So you invent a reason. You make it your burden, your failure, your flaw. But she didn't leave because you weren't enough. She left because she never saw you in the first place. She didn't betray you because you failed. She betrayed you because it served her needs and your guilt. It's just your mind trying to make chaos logical. You confuse anger with regression, but rage is sacred when it's honest. It tells you where the boundary was crossed and where you stayed silent out of fear of losing her. Your silence didn't protect you. It destroyed you slowly. You punish yourself so you don't have to punish her. You call it empathy, but it's just another leash around your throat. You weren't wrong to love, but you were wrong to keep bleeding to prove it. The guilt owns you because it gives you something to control. You can't control her lies, her absence, her withdrawals, but you can control how much you suffer for them. And in that suffering you feel safe, because pain makes more sense than betrayal. But let this settle in your bones. You're not guilty, you're grieving. And grief doesn't ask for punishment, it asks for truth. The truth is, she made choices, and your silence is not an apology. It's a confession that the war is over. You told yourself you were patient, understanding, kind. But kindness that costs you your peace isn't kindness, it's submission. You weren't being noble, you were being erased with a smile. She forgot your needs, and you forgave her. She crossed your boundaries, and you explained them again, softer, each time, hoping she'd see the effort, but she only saw permission. Schopenhauer didn't believe in noble suffering. He called it what it is, repetition of pain in prettier clothes. You thought you were protecting her, but really, you were protecting your fear of being abandoned. So you stayed, not out of love, but out of self-abandonment. Your empathy became a leash. Every time she hurt you, you looked for her pain instead of your own. You wanted to understand her, because understanding her was easier than confronting the fact that she didn't care to understand you. You were trained to think endurance equals loyalty. But real loyalty has boundaries. Real love doesn't thrive in silence. And if you have to disappear to keep the peace, you're not in a relationship. You're in captivity. You weren't the healer. You were the anesthetic. She came to you not to grow, but to be coddled in her own dysfunction. And your good intentions fed the very fire that burned you. You said, she's going through a lot. But what about you? Who held you while you held her? Who reminded you that your tears mattered too? You weren't supporting her. You were slowly vanishing. Stop protecting people who profit from your disappearance. Stop mistaking passivity for peace. You don't need to be understood by someone who uses your empathy as a weapon. She didn't kill your light. You dimmed it and called it love. What if the love you were chasing was just your need for permission dressed in perfume? What if she was never your future? Just the reflection of the self you abandoned. You kept trying to earn what should have been natural. You kept softening your edges to be held by hands that never truly opened. But here's the brutal truth. You are not meant to be completed. You are meant to be claimed by you. So ask yourself, when you loved her, did you even exist? Or were you just a puppet wired by wounds, begging for someone to pull the right string? The world doesn't need more men chasing illusions. It needs men who can walk through the ruins of their projections and say, I'd rather be whole and alone than fractured and adored. If this message spoke to something hidden in you, something raw, unspoken, and ancient, then you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and continue this journey of brutal self-knowledge and emotional resurrection. If Schopenhauer showed you the illusion, Machiavelli will show you the strategy. The next video isn't about heartbreak, it's about power, and the women who drain it while calling it love.